Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the news from Saba Satellite Channel from Marib. Here are tonight's top stories.
Teachers Syndicate warns of education violations in Houthi-controlled areas.
The United States targets Houthi financial and arms networks.
UN chief warns of erosion of rule of law amid rising global conflicts.
Welcome back and to the details. In government outreach, Youth and Sports Minister Naif Al-Bakri met today with the United States Ambassador to Yemen, Stephen Fagan, to discuss ways to strengthen cooperation. The talks focus on supporting institutional stability, improving services, and expanding youth training and rehabilitation programs. Al-Bakri also briefed the ambassador on preparations for the South-South dialogue called for by President Rashad Al-Alimi and hosted by Saudi Arabia, describing it as a key step toward addressing the southern issue within the framework of the state. The minister welcomed the Washington's role in backing peace efforts and emphasized the importance of strategic partnership in addressing current challenges. Ambassador Fagan reaffirmed U.S. support for the government's efforts to activate the state institutions and improve public services.
In international cooperation, Water and Environment Minister Tawfiq Al-Sharjabi met today in Amman with the Netherlands Ambassador to Yemen, Jeanette Sebin. The meeting reviewed the needs of the water and environment sectors, progress in Dutch-funded projects, and prospects for expanding bilateral cooperation in the coming phase. Discussions also covered preparations for the upcoming Water Sector Coordination Group meeting, aimed at strengthening coordination among international partners and improving project effectiveness. Minister Al-Sharjabi praised the strong bilateral relations with the Netherlands, stressing that Dutch support remains essential in addressing current challenges facing the water and environment sectors. For her part, Ambassador Sebin reaffirmed her country's commitment to continued support for Yemen's water sector, emphasizing the importance of close coordination to ensure sustainability and long-term impact.
In Aden, Minister of State and Aden Governor Abdul Rahman Sheikh met with the head of the UNICEF's office in Aden, Sahar Hijazi, to discuss strengthened cooperation in child-related sectors. The meeting focused on priority needs including education, health, nutrition, water and sanitation, and social protection programs. Governor Sheikh stressed the importance of sustainable projects and deliver lasting benefits for children and families, while UNICEF reaffirmed its continued support and coordination with local authorities. Both sides agreed to develop an integrated action plan aligned with Aden's priorities. In a separate meeting, Governor Sheikh met with Hello Trust Director Mara van der Kamp to review mine clearness efforts and post-war site rehabilitation in the city. Discussions covered field surveys, removal and exploded ordnance, and future cooperation to cover former military sites into safe public spaces. The Hello Trust confirmed it will continue operations in line with international safety standards.
In diplomatic news, Deputy Foreign Minister Mustafa Nu'man met today with the Ambassador of South Africa to Yemen, Magobo Magabi, to discuss ways to enhance bilateral relations and cooperation. The talks also covered regional and international developments, with an emphasis on supporting regional stability and strengthening coordination on issues of mutual interest. Both sides discussed preparations to convene the Joint Political Consultation Committee. Deputy Minister Nu'man briefed the ambassador on recent political and military developments and steps taken by the Presidential Leadership Council led by President Rashad Al-Alimi to stabilize conditions in the interim capital Aden. The South African ambassador reaffirmed his country's support for Yemen's unity and territorial integrity.
In a related context, Deputy Foreign Minister also received a copy of credentials of the Ambassador of Greece to Yemen, Katerina Varvigo. Nouman welcomed the ambassador and affirmed the ministry's readiness to facilitate her work. The meeting reviewed bilateral relations and discussed ways to enhance cooperation alongside an exchange of views on regional and international issues. Ambassador Varvigo reaffirmed Greece's support for Yemen's unity, security, and stability.
In Al-Mahra, Governor Mohammed Ali Yasser met with the ambassador of the United States to Yemen, Stephen Fagan, to review service conditions and the security situation in the governorate. Governor Yasser outlined local authority efforts to maintain security, preserve public order, and strengthen the presence of state institutions in coordination with the security and military agencies. Ambassador Fagan commended the stability in Al-Mahra and affirmed his country's interest in supporting stability and cooperation with local authorities. The meeting also discussed coordination on security and development issues of shared interest.
Diplomatic activity remains in full swing across Yemeni embassies as officials continue efforts to strengthen bilateral ties and expand international cooperation. In Baghdad, Yemen's ambassador Khudair Marmash met officials at the Iraq Foreign Ministry to discuss ways to enhance bilateral relations and coordinate positions in international forums, including mutual support for nomination within global organizations. In Jakarta, Ambassador Salim Belfaqih held talks with Indonesia's Deputy Minister of Trade on boosting trade and economic cooperation, reactivating the Joint Committee and exploring opportunities in priority sectors. Meanwhile, in Madrid, Ambassador Aus Al-Aoud met senior officials at Spain's Foreign Ministry to review bilateral relations and avenues for deeper political, economic, and cultural cooperation, with both sides stressing the importance of continued dialogue and coordination.
The Yemeni Teachers Syndicate has warned of serious violations affecting the education sector in areas under Houthi control. In a statement marking World Education Day, the syndicate warned of widespread violations, including curriculum manipulation, the militarization of schools, and child recruitment. It said millions of students are being denied the right to education, noting that more than 3 million children are currently out of school. The syndicate also reported that over 170,000 teachers have gone without salaries for nearly 10 years, while around 2,900 schools are no longer operational. The statement called on the international community to protect education, stop the use of schools for military purposes, and support efforts to preserve the national curriculum.
The United States says it is intensifying efforts to disrupt Houthi funding and arms procurement networks. The U.S. State Department said Washington is targeting a network of malicious entities involved in illicit fundraising, smuggling, and weapons procurement linked to the Houthis and backed by Iran. Speaking on behalf of the State Department, Tommy Bigot said the measures aim to cut off resources used to support what he described as reckless and destabilizing activities. He stressed that the United States will continue working to deny the Houthis the financial means needed to carry out operations that threaten regional stability and target U.S. allies and partners. The statement underscores Washington's continued focus on countering illicit financial flows and arms trafficking connected to the conflict in Yemen.
At a time of escalating conflicts and weakening international consensus, the United Nations Secretary General has issued a warning that carries direct relevance for conflict-affected countries, including Yemen. Addressing a high-level open debate of the UN Security Council, Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned that respect for international law is rapidly eroding as global tensions rise.
The founders of this organization understood that global problems can only be solved by wielding not the weapons of war, but instead the tools of diplomacy, supported by a system based on international law. By dialogue, not the zero-sum rhetoric of division, and by collaboration, not geopolitical competition.
Guterres cautioned that commitments to international law are increasingly being ignored, citing unlawful use of force, attacks on civilian infrastructure, human rights violations, and the obstruction of humanitarian aid.
We see states flouting the rule of law with impunity through the illegal use of force, the targeting of civilian infrastructure, human rights violations and abuses, the illegal development of nuclear weapons, unconstitutional changes of government, and denial of life-saving humanitarian aid.
The UN chief warned that selective adherence to international rules encourages impunity and undermines trust between states. For smaller and conflict-affected countries, Guterres said international law is a vital safeguard for our sovereignty, civilian protection and humanitarian access, while accountability remains essential for any just and lasting peace.
These violations set dangerous precedents, encouraging other countries to do what they want instead of what they are required to do under international law. They breed mistrust and division among nations, and they undermine people's faith in our ability to find.
Saba Satellite Channel from Marib. Thank you for watching and have a good time.
Have a good time.